A very warm welcome to this live-streamed concert from the McPherson Recital Room here in the brand new Laidlaw Music Centre at the University of St Andrews. My name's Michael Downs. I'm Director of Music here at the University. I'm delighted to welcome all of you watching this concert. This is the second of our regular Wednesday lunchtime live-stream concerts, which will be carrying on all through the semester. And it's the second of 5 programmes given by musicians from the Scottish Chamber Orchestra. We've been proud to welcome the Scottish Chamber Orchestra as our orchestra in residence for more than a decade now, and we've enjoyed working with them on a huge range of projects. Today's concert has been put together, curated, and much of it composed by Steve King, who is an old friend of St Andrews Music, both in his capacity as a viola player in the orchestra and also in his capacity as Director of Music at Heriot-Watt University. You'll be hearing from Steve in person a little bit later, but first of all, enjoy the first 2 pieces by him in today's concert, Stepping In and Summer Memories.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Quartz concert. We're all members, as Michael said, of the Scottish Chamber Orchestra, and some of us have been in it an awful long time. I think I've been in it for something like 36, 37 years. Ruth is not that far behind me. Anyway, I'll introduce you to the players. On the first violin we have Ruth, and on second violin we've got Fiona, and on cello we've got Donnie. And I'm Steve on viola. By far the best instrument of the lot, of course. Anyway, so those first two pieces, Stepping In was written as an introduction to a concert, stepping into the concert, with a lot of vibrancy there. And that last piece, Southern Memories, I wrote when I lived in Iceland for a few years. This melody, this sort of piece was going through my head through the night. And I had to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to just write it down. And I finished it off during the rest of the day. So it sort of finished in about 12 hours, which was quite amazing for me anyway. So we're going to carry on now. With a piece called Don and Dewey by a group from San Francisco from the late 60s, that's the 1960s, called It's a Beautiful Day. And although it features all of us in a certain way, watch out for the virtuosic acrobatics of our leader, Ruth. So, from that very jazzy number, I think we're properly warmed up now. We're going to start a sequence of Scottish music, and we're going to slow the tempo down a little bit with a wonderful melody that I arranged called The Dark Island. So staying with the Scottish theme, we're going to play a piece that I wrote many years ago when I first came up to Scotland. It's called Slipping Over the Border. Obviously, I'm English, came up to Scotland, and I slipped over the border. And very, very heavily influenced by Scottish folk music when I first came up, and I loved it to bits, still do in fact. So this piece, Slipping Over the Border, it starts off with a cello solo, which Donnie will play, and it's very beautiful in rehearsals. It nearly made us cry. It's absolutely gorgeous. And it builds up to Fiona, the second violin, joins him in a second rendering of that. And then we go into something a bit faster, as you'll see. And then in the middle of the piece, it goes into what I call a sort of rowing song, a rowing piece. And I think that will be obvious when we start to play it, finishing off with a very vigorous, lively finale. So I'm going to give these guys a few minutes break now, and I'm going to talk about what it's like. You know, when you're perhaps an audience in a concert, sometimes you're not aware that things go wrong or accidents happen. For instance, a friend of mine who used to play in the English Chamber Orchestra down in London, many decades ago, they were doing Haydn's Farewell Symphony, which came at the end of the concert, and some of you might know in the last movement, the players go out at random, leaving the leader of the orchestra at the end. And they did it in a sort of a way where they had candles on the music stand, real lit candles. And someone in the viola section stood up and knocked his music stand and knocked the candle over and set fire to the music. So these things happen. So anyway, we were doing, many years ago, in fact, I don't think these guys were in the orchestra then. We were playing with a really well-known conductor and a fantastic pianist in Scotland. And this particular conductor, he had a muscular problem with his legs. So he used to sit on a stool, which was absolutely fine, a lot of conductors do. Anyway, he came in for a week of work with us. And he was absolutely thrilled. He'd been to a new doctor where he lives in Switzerland. And the doctor had given him drugs where he could actually stand up without the stool. And of course, we were totally delighted for him. And so the rehearsals went fine, etc. And we got to our first concert in the City Halls in Glasgow. And I must say, I remember telling the audience in the City Halls this story quite a few years after this incident happened, and they all remembered it, which was great. Anyway, so we rehearsed, and then we did the concert. We did an overture, and then it was Haydn piano concerto. And often in the second movements of Haydn concertos, the orchestra plays a bit, and then the soloist plays without the orchestra. So it all went fine in the first movement of the concerto, and pianist was great, as always. Second movement, we played a little introduction, and off the pianist went. And I noticed, and a friend of mine in the first violins noticed as well, that the conductor's knees started to buckle. I thought, oh, here we go. And then we played a bit more with the orchestra, and then the orchestra stopped, and the soloist carried on, totally oblivious of what's going on in the orchestra. And I noticed again, of course, the knees started to go down a bit further, and I checked it with my friend, and he was noticing it as well. And the third time that we stopped playing, his knees went right down. I thought, I've got to do something here. So I was sitting at the second desk of violas. There's only 4 violas. And I put my instrument and bow down very quickly and walked very fast around to the back of the conductor and caught him just before he fell back into the piano. And, of course, my heart was going like that. And all this was going on. The pianist just carried on playing. No problem. So, anyway, as the conductor fell back, he took his music stand with him, and the person who was playing second viola grabbed hold of the stand, stopped the stand from falling over with him. Everybody else was playing as normal. And somebody in the second violins went off to get a chair. So we got the chair, and I was holding the conductor still. Of course, he wasn't conducting at this time. We put the chair under him, and I tried to put him down onto the chair. And every time I got his bottom onto the chair, he would go up again like this. I thought, goodness sake, just sit down, you know. And we did this about 3 times, and I looked down and suddenly realised that a chair leg was on his foot. So, these things happen. Of course, my heart was going like that, and I eventually went back to carry on playing with the conductor on his chair. Soloist was totally oblivious to what was going on and just carried on, you know. So they'd gone into the third movement by then. Anyway, the next day, at the Queen's Hall, we were doing our second concert, and the conductor came into the rehearsal and sat down on his stool. And he looked at the leader of the violas, who was a very close friend of mine, and this guy hadn't done a thing to help during the concert the previous day. And he looked at him and he said, "Thank you very much." And I thought, you swine. Anyway, and what's more, this guy who hadn't done a thing got the Christmas cards for the next few years. So these things happen. There's plenty more stories like that, but it's very interesting in an audience. You're not aware all the time of things that go wrong in concerts. Anyway, we're going to have a little tune, and then I'll introduce you to the next piece. So the next piece we're going to play, you've probably noticed in this concert, it's not sort of first violin heavy all of the time. Second violin has loads of tunes, cello has loads of tunes. So this one is called My Laggan Love. That's the River Laggan that goes through Belfast. Beautiful tune. There's hundreds of covers of this tune. And I've given it to the viola to play. Before I introduce the next piece, when we were rehearsing this and playing this yesterday, I don't know how many of you know this, but the viola has always been seen as the Cinderella of the orchestra. And I suppose it's a sort of tradition from the past that they seem to be cold, unemotional playing. So when I was playing this yesterday, they all put their scarves on and coats and started shivering. Thank you very much. Anyway, we're going to carry on with some more Scottish stuff here. It's a piece called Dances from a piece I wrote called Farewell. And it was a piece I wrote for Capercaillie, the fantastic Scottish folk group, when they were in residence at the St Agnes Festival many years ago. And I wrote this for the Orcadian Fiddlers, SCO Choir and Capercaillie. Dances from Farewell. So we're going to skip away from Scotland for one piece, probably our slowest, well, perhaps not our slowest, but a very slow piece, a very beautiful piece called The Place of Welcome. And the penultimate piece, we're going back to Scotland, and it's a real tour de force, particularly for Ruth, the first violin. It's a collection of Hebridean dances. So we come to the final piece, and it's a Strip the Willow. And the founder member with me of Quartz was the late, great Kevin McCrae. We miss him hugely, but he lives on in this fantastic music that he wrote. So, Strip the Willow. I'd like to thank St Andrews University for giving us this fantastic room to play in. It's absolutely brilliant. I'd like to thank the SCO for all their work behind all this project, and most of all, I'd like to thank our friends here at Quartz, who've very kindly played my music brilliantly. So thank you so much. I'm going to be cheesy now and say the song has ended, but the melody lingers on. Thank you for watching.